Hello and welcome to this video where I'll show you how you can actually support your SAP PI, PO and cloud integrations a lot more and do it a lot more efficient. So this is based on the Figaf IRT tool that helps you really support this process. So why do you want to optimize this change management process? I guess the way to start on it is most of the way normal people or normal developers and organization is doing documentation really isn't an optimal way. So most of the time I've been out, it has been done in some kind of an Excel or Word document where you insert some things about the thing you are changing, the message mapping, the the icons, but it wasn't really capturing what was being changed and why it was done. So you were just doing a change without really specifying what you had done in this. So if someone had to do anything regarding this, it would be really difficult figuring out when something was changed for any purposes. And documentation in most cases is never really updated, so no one bothers to really look at it. When you have to do something, it's much easier to just find the code. And in some objects, it is really difficult to see what was changed. So if you have a communication channel and want to compare it with another one, you have to export it and compare the XML document, and that's sometimes a little challenging. But most of all of this documentation is something that takes a lot of time for users to develop and create. And I would argue that if you can automate that, you will save a lot of money on this development lifecycle and get a much better documentation performed. So why do you want to automate this change management? And well, the thing is, in most cases, you don't really know what was changed. And if you have to do it, it is really cumbersome to figure out, go through these different communication channels and figure out what had been changed. And then you want to ensure that all the changes that you have made is really tested. So if you have changed the UDF, you want to make sure that you're testing all the different places where this UDF is used. And then you want to be able to go the other way around. If you're looking at message mapping, you want to know why this was changed at any point in time. And also, if you have a QA procedure, which is highly recommended, then they know what they should be looking at, what are the place you have changed the mapping, and validate whether or not this is okay. So we've created a tool that works for both process orchestration and cloud integration, and it is the same way you're dealing with it, so it makes it a lot easier for users to really take advantage of the tool, and no matter which of the different platforms they're working on. So the different steps that we are supporting in this process is we are supporting that alert is created from some kind of a PI alert or an adapter alert that fails. We're using the component-based message alerting. You can set up some rules that handle these things. Then obviously you want to do some changes, do an update in message mapping, the communication channel, or an iFlow in CPI, cloud platform integration. Then the thing that we have created is we have a way you can assign this specific change version to a ticket, and with this ticket you can then be able to see what was changed in this ticket by whom, and you can actually perform the different tests that involved in this. So if you have a UDF, it will say it's involved in these 5 different ICOs, and you can then do any modifications to it. So it's kind of 3 or 4 separate tools that we all have, but they're integrated into the same platform to make this developer experience a lot easier. So we'll start with the support tool, and this is the one that's listening for component-based message alerting, the standard alerts that you can set up in PI single stack. And this would actually just be triggered whenever something happens, like a message would not be delivered, and adapter is not able to process these messages. And what you can then do is you can set up rules that allow you to process these different things in really a simple way. So you have an XPath, you can say, okay, I got this alert, then you'd use that as a template and say, then you can write who should be contacted for this. If you know it's the business person that needs to be involved in this, you can just take this his email, put it into the tool, and send the alert directly to him. You can also cancel or reprocess some of the messages if they are required to do that. And then it integrates with the ticket tool. So here we have the ERT application. And what we can then do is we can go into the system, the support part of it. And here we can see what are the different alerts that we have set up, what are the different rules that we already have in this modification. So we can take a look at our current alerts, and we can see that this message in some way has been triggered, but it is right now in status success. So we can go and look here, and we can see we got something on invoice number 2. There's some CPA cash determination that is missing. We know this is status number 2. So what we can do is we can create a new rule. So we'll just create a new rule. And this here we have an XPath that defines this so we can describe what are the subject, what is the text we want. Do we want any email sent to someone? Do we want to have it reprocessed or cancel? And how critical is this? How long time do we need to specify before we get this fixed? And this is enabled, and we'll just enter a number. So the rules will be executed in that order. And once it finds a rule that suits this XPath, it will then trigger it. So we can say test, and we can see what would be sent if someone would deal with this. So we can see and the message. So this is the subject and the message. So we'll save this one. And next time we would see a message with this text, it will be routed in this format. So let's check here. So we can see what was the rule it was selecting. So there's a default rule that catches all. So this is actually it, and we can then create a ticket based on this request and figure out what to do, how to deal with these different things. So now we want to do change tracking. We want to know what was really changed in this system. So the change tracking allow you to track changes on object in repository, directory, and the iFlow, which is not really directory, but in some cases it makes sense also to track it. We have the trading pattern management from the B2B add-on, and then we have the cloud integration, both the iFlows and all the attachments that you have for it. Then you have, so each of these objects would have a version, so you can have obviously multiple different versions of an object. And what happens is the ERT system would log onto this, log onto the system, download all of these components, and then you can actually browse them on the ERT server. And whenever you do a new refresh, you'll see all the different changes that have occurred, download them, and then users would be able to see what was the difference between the different versions that it has downloaded. And with this, you can see what was the specific change that was made either in communication channel, message mapping. And you can link, so there's a link in these that shows you where this was actually used. So let's see. So we'll find it over here. Here we have our changes, and we got our PI objects. We just need to select the right system. And I am on a VPN, that's why it does take a little while to download the objects and the list that we have here. So the easiest part is just to do a sort by last changed, and you can see who changed by what. So we know that I was doing something here. Let's see what was going on. So what was there? So then we can see it was something in this one that was changed. So this break was changed. We can browse to all the different settings and see what was changed in these things. We also have the option of seeing where this is actually used. So we can see this message mapping used in these different icons, and we can see all these different interfaces, and we can see this is used in this icon, and this operation mapping is then using these different objects, so we can see what are the operations that it has. So right now I do want to have this one, so I can take this version and I can create a ticket for it, and we will create a new 8, and we have an option to choose what type of object this is. That's, I guess, is the next part. So we can see what was really changed in the different settings between different versions of all objects, and we can do full text search on either find a search for objects here, or we can do XPath search in the backend and find any place where we have specific requirements. So we can say here search and payload, and with this we'll be able to search for a place using XPath in all the different XML documents that we want. So this was the change tracking tool. And then we have this ticket functionality. And this is a way that you can link all the different changes in your PI system to something that has triggered you to do these things. This is the same, so you can create a change in your development system, and it will automatically be linked to the same change in the development system or QA system and production system, if the IRT system is able to determine that. And then you can create test cases for these things and see what was really done, because we got this link that we know this message mapping was used in these 5 different interfaces. So what is a ticket? A ticket is a concept that covers both, if you have service requests, gaps, incidents, whatever you want to call it in your landscape that fits with your transport procedures. There's obviously a description that tells you a little about what's going on. There's a status of this thing. There's a link to the different objects that you have. So you can link to a specific object version, and then you'll be able to see this version. And then there's a set of tests that you want to perform based on these assigned objects. And then obviously it can also link to some alerts if they occurred. So obviously you would probably be thinking, well, we already have Solution Manager, a help desk system that we are working with, and that is providing all of these steps and the approvals we need into it. So if you have Solman, Jira, whatever that you're using, you would still be able to use the IRT system, but so you just use the IRT system like a dummy, that will help you create these documents and all the different stages. So from your Solman, you just say link, I created this ticket or this incident, whatever you call it, and the place where you can find more information about it is on this URL. And you can also export this document as some Excel document, and you can then attach it to the existing thing. And if there's any way we can do any integration with these tools, do let us know. We would like to see how we can integrate a lot easier with this tool, make it a lot faster for you to work with these statuses and this technology. So let me show you what it was. So I was a little into it before, so we got a change here. We can look at our different version for this one. And let's say I want this one and I would assign it to a ticket. So creating a new ticket. We have a list of predefined statuses. Yeah, if you have anything else, let us know. Just so you got an idea of searching by the different types. So I guess this is just incidents. We have some different statuses. We already saw that what was happening here. So now we can see we have created a new ticket, and we can assign some more objects to it if we want to. So just take a little while so we can assign any of these objects, just a save, and then it will be assigned to the ticket. I don't want that one, we can remove it again. Then we can look at if we have alerts, we can have them assigned here, and we can have a look at what are the different test objects that we have, and I'll cover testing in the next phase. So we can see we got some different test cases here that we can just select and say save. And then we have created what we will call a testing template, which is a group of different test cases. And we can see that we have something for number 2, number 4, and number 5, but all the other ones we do not have any test cases on. And this would probably be something that you want to make sure that this does not happen when you're dealing with any change. So if you're doing QA, you'd be able to see, these things has not been tested, and figure out why the developer did not think it was relevant to test number 3. And if you want, you can create the test cases that covers these different scenarios. So this is actually how we will be able to support the process. And then you can obviously, if you want to change, you would be able to see what was why something had been changed in any specific versions. So you can see all the tickets that has been assigned to it, so you know, well, this message mapping was changed these specific times because this had occurred. So we can see here what was the reason for these changes. We can see the different incidents that has been processed here, and we can then drill down and see, okay, why these two were changed, see the reason for it, and then you, if you have to do any support, will be able to do it a lot faster. So that was the developer support tool that allow you to really figure out what's going on in your system of changes. Then comes the testing, and this has been the place that we've started developing this application from. So we have a lot of focus on creating an easy way really to set up test cases. So the way we're doing this is, for instance, we're looking at your productive system, downloading messages that's being processed on it, and using them as a test case. So download the input and the output of a message, and then we'll say this is our new test case, and we want to use this for all messages that's being processed. It's possible to set up ignoring of header elements and other headers, or in the content, if there's any specific element yet that you think, well, there's a date, we don't want this, then you can set it up quite easily. So what can these tests be used for? So obviously you can use it for system updates. So if you have patches, if you have upgrades, you can use it for it. So if you have just a full set of all test cases of all your different ICOs, you can run this. Once it's done, you would get a report that says, here's what you've run, here's the errors and the differences that you have. That way you would be able to test all your different message mappings, modules, and really see whether anything there were changes. So we would not be able to test the outside communication, so you'd need to do that in another way. But the main part of it, you would be able to get really fast. Then obviously for migration purposes, it also makes sense. So if you're doing a migration, how can you set up some of these data and reuse them? So you download the existing messages, upload them, and then you can run this a lot of times until you get the output correct. And then you can do validations of the developments that you have done, as we saw with the developer tool, or you can run the test in your test system to validate that it actually looks as it is supposed to. So you can see that you've transported all the different objects that's there. So we do have some different concepts regarding this testing, and I just wanted to cover those different things because I think it makes a lot of sense to show you these different things. So one of the things is it's used to test the internal working on the PI or cloud integration system. So you can actually see what was going on in this case. And then you're able to create new messages. So when you're doing regression testing, once you have done the recording and once you want to replay, it will just send a message into the system that looks exactly as the message did at the point we were able to pick it out, and process it through the system, possibly with all the different modules. And then you'll be able to test from module to from center channel all the modules to the end. Then we have got some requests on customers that said, well, we got HP UFT and we have a lot of scripts in it, and we want to be able to reuse them for our testing, but we want to be able to do comparison of the message that being sent in a lot better way. And we've created a component that would allow you to do that. So you would actually just send the message in again. Say create a recording that will collect messages. You would send in the message, run your existing script. It will download the messages, validate that both the input and the output look identical. And if it does, it will say yes, or success, or otherwise failure, and you can drill down and see what was the failure. There's a simple API calls that you just need to call both to start the test and get the results. So it's really simple to integrate with any tool that you have. And then we have what we are calling a non-invasive data collection. So our normal testing requires that you install a module on your PI system. But we got some customers that think that this process just takes a lot longer to really deal with. So they want to make it simpler. And with this new addition, you actually don't need anything else than just your own PI user to set up test cases, run them on your development system. So this is really something that allows you to just download messages from your productive system, run them without any risk. It does require that you have enabled logging before and after the mapping. So we're able to get those messages either globally or in the argos affected, or you can add the logging module from SAP to turn on the logging there. So in general, this will not enable you to test the module and how they are performed, but it is really a good place to get started validating our tool and validating what our testing can be done. It's able to test without modules and just create a lot of test cases on this. So you can create the test case with data from your production, run it on your development system, and maybe even get the module data based on the way it runs there. We also have the ability to do testing in SAP Cloud Integration, and the way we do this is that the Cloud Integration have an ability to go or set an iFlow into trace mode for 10 minutes, and then every message that's being processed in those 10 minutes will be saved, and all the different intermediate steps will actually be saved, so we can fetch out all of that information and use that as a test case. So with this, we don't really need to do any changes in your module. You can just run the existing system as you already have. This will just change it into trace mode, run it, get the data, and then you can run this using the SOAP adapter or HTTP. And if you have used those adapters, we can just reuse the same iFlow, given that it's not a productive instance. If you have any other adapters or scheduled service, we will create a iFlow that looks identical, but just is started with a SOAP or an HTTP adapter, so we can have a way we can trigger this into your system. Just update it, so whenever you're doing an update, it will just synchronize this new new iFlow, and when you're running tests, you'll be able to validate that it looks as it's supposed to be. So this makes it easy to test these different things. So let me just show you a little about how this testing works. So here we have our list of PI components. I want to do a new recording of some of the icons and just say record messages. We will create a new template, 99. We will create 3 messages for each of these. And then we can also, if we have messages information into the data partner information, we can put XPath into this. So we would easily be able to run or get a balanced test set. So we will get 5 messages of the different types, whatever you want to. So we'll just say 3, we'll call them all the same type. And then what we'll do is we will then, so now it has created a new template where I've added these different things to. And this is the same way that the developer tool does. When it has assigned a different set of test cases, it will create a virtual template that you can run in just the same way as we're doing here. So right now, we'll just wait until the system has processed some messages for each of these different interfaces, and then we will create a test case for it. So we can see now we have received the 3 messages for each of the different interfaces, and what we'll then do is we'll just say create test case, and then we'll say what type we want of these different things, and we will then just create our test case. Our test case has then been created automatically, and we can then run it just by selecting and then run. And this will run all these different 3 messages through, and we can then check our results here. It will take a little while also because we got a lot of scheduled job. In order for this to be able to scale, then we are scheduling and polling some of these different jobs to make sure that the system will handle under load. So let's just wait a few seconds. So now we got our results back and we can see there's errors on these things, which is not good. So let's check what these are so we can have a look at it. We can view our test case. We can see what are the data. We can have a look at the different messages and change them if we wanted to. And then we can look at the results that we got for this one. So we can see we got some errors. Let's see what are the differences. So now we can see we got a difference here in this date that is different. So we just double click it, we get an XPath that points to this element, and we can just say yes. Then if we run this again, so if we just click rerun, then it will create a new run for this specific case. And if we then look at this, we would hopefully be able to see that this is successful. So now we can see that it has run successfully, and then we can actually just go back, run it again, and everything would be okay. So I hope this shows you a little about what we can actually do with the different testing. So the future development that we're going to add is we want to add the change tracking tool, also the support tracking tool, to the cloud integration, so you can have the same environment to do validations of both of these different things. Then we want to create an Excel report that you can get from a ticket that shows you all the different changes, all the different test cases that have been performed, and the result of these different things. We want to improve the audit logs of these things, so you can see who made changes to the objects. We want to automate the assigning of different objects if you have multiple different systems. And then we want to change this the ticket creation to actually run automatically and create some virtual tickets for continuous integration. So my vision is that this will run every once it has synchronized the object, it will see are there any new changes, and it'll run test all the different tests that it has and send a notification to a specific person what if there were anything that were broken. And then we also want to add the ability to get information from transport, so we also would be able to really validate that the thing you are transporting is correct. So this was a little about some of the roadmap and the features that we are working on. If you have any other ideas, feedback, do let us know, and we'll see if that is something that we can accommodate. So that was the ERT tool, a simple tool that allows you to support your development process. So I hope this has been helpful. You can download the tool free at figaf.com/ERT, and you can test up to 10 icons and 100 messages for free. So it's really a simple way of getting started testing your systems. So and there you can also find out something about the different packages that we are working on. So go to figaf.com/ERT, sign up, and learn how this works in your own application or in your own landscape. Thank you.